I bought a tape machine, specifically a Tascam Portastudio 424 Mark II. Now you're probably asking yourself, why did I spend my money on a piece of outdated, antiquated technology from the early 90s when my iPhone has more recording power and options in the GarageBand app than this thing will ever have? With all these great modern recording tools, why would I spend my time and money investing in an old Tascam? I mean, the reality is recording in a DAW on a computer is better in just about every measurable way than working on an old school 4-track cassette deck like this. It's way faster to punch in, to edit, to write, to produce, especially in a DAW like Logic where I've got thousands of instruments and sounds and loops at my disposal to use. I have essentially an unlimited number of tracks, not just 4 and then bounce and then 4 and then bounce. The sound in a DAW is way better than on this. It's higher fidelity, higher quality. You have more room to work with. You have more headroom. It's better in almost every measurable way than a 4-track cassette deck. And it's not like this thing was super cheap either. After shipping and eBay fees, this thing was a little over $200, and this was a really good deal. Now, I did find out today it doesn't work properly. For some reason, channel 2 is not recording, and I don't know why. So I did get a partial refund from the seller, but that money is just going to go right back into taking this to a local tech here in Atlanta and getting it diagnosed and repaired, which I don't know how long that's going to take or how much money it's going to cost. Then on top of that, you have to go out and buy cassettes, which are still available and they're not super expensive, but this is an added expense that you certainly don't have to deal with when you're working in a DAW, especially nowadays when things like GarageBand come free with your laptop or your iPad or your iPhone. Other than buying maybe a microphone or some kind of interface, you don't need to sink a ton of money to get into recording and producing your own music. Now, some of you are probably thinking, oh, well, I get it. He wants to use it for that natural tape sound that you only get from tracking analog. But honestly, that's not it either. I have plugins on my computer that emulate tape machines really, really well. And I have this thing, the Ampex ATR 700. Once it's up and running, it needs a cleaning and a calibration. But once it's up and running, its sole purpose will just be used as a mix down deck to bust out drum subs or entire mixes to get that natural tape saturation. I mean, that's what this thing was designed to do. They're slower than working in a DAW. The workflow is harder than working in a DAW. They're expensive. You have to buy tape. You have to maintain them. And at the end of the day, they don't sound as good or have as much flexibility or functionality as working in your computer or your smartphone or your tablet.
So was this 4-track a waste of money? I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. Now, I'm 28 years old, which means that I came of age in the digital era. Most of my life has been spent on the internet and using computers, especially my musical life. When I got into recording and into the whole process of learning how to work in a studio with Rick Beato, we were doing everything in the box. We rarely ever tracked to tape. We didn't have a recording console. Everything was done with a keyboard and a mouse. Now today that's a really great way to learn because it's applicable. Pretty much everyone records this way nowadays, and if you're going to work in this industry, you have to know how to run Pro Tools and Logic. You have to know how to mix in the box. So I'm grateful that I learned that way. So for me as an engineer or producer or musician doing a session, I've only ever known in the box recording techniques. Humans are touch creatures. We like feedback. That's why they're starting to put haptic feedback in our phones and watches, because we like switches, we like knobs, faders, sliders. We like to touch a thing and have a machine react to that input. And I think musicians especially are this way because we work with our hands. We've spent most of our lives training our brains and our hands to elicit a musical response from an instrument. And when you're recording and working in the box, you're missing out on a crucial part of that process, which is touch. When you move a fader and the volume comes up, or you twist a knob and an instrument is panned from one side of the mix to the other, that is a visceral experience, and it gives you something that you don't normally get when you're just moving a mouse and keyboard around. Wait, so you're saying you bought the tape machine just because it has switches and knobs and sliders that you like to touch? No, that's not the reason I bought the tape machine either. See, recently I've been watching a lot of videos by two different YouTube creators, Christian Henson Music and Heinbach. If you're not familiar with either one of those channels, I'll have them both linked below. They're amazing. I highly recommend you check them out. One thing that Christian Henson has been talking about a lot recently in his videos is the need that he feels to break out of the box, to be able to write, record, and do everything without a computer involved. Now that idea really resonated with me, and it reminded me of this. I bought my wife this for her birthday / our wedding gift about 1.5 years ago. It's a Nikon F3 35mm film camera. Now this thing is completely analog. There's no auto mode, auto focus, any of that. You are in control of whether or not the picture comes out good. Using this camera, we've been able to capture some incredible images over the last 1.5 years, and it's made both my wife Tilly and I better photographers. So when I heard Christian Henson talking about working out of the box and getting the computer out of the way, it made me think of how much I've learned about photography by going back to the old school way of doing things. I bought that tape machine because I want to break out of my comfort zone. Working in the box and learning how to record that way has caused me to develop some habits and some ruts in my writing and producing and playing techniques that I want to break free from. As musicians, we all know what it feels like to be in a rut with our playing, to play the same licks or the same ideas or chord progressions over and over again, and you know how frustrating that can be. You start dealing with this mental downward spiral of, well, am I even a good musician? Am I capable of learning new ideas or capable of creating something good and original and unique? And whenever my guitar playing gets to a place like that, I find that I have to make a drastic change in some part of my playing workflow. Getting myself out of my comfort zone or giving myself limitations will often inspire creativity and often break that rut. So that's what I want this tape machine to do for me. I want to learn how to record the old school way. I want to learn what it's like to work with limitations, to not have an infinite amount of tracks, to not be able to just Apple Z and undo something that was a crappy idea. Much like that camera did for my photography, forced me to slow down, think about the image, think about the composition before I press the shutter button. I want the tape machine to do the same thing for my music production. Force me to slow down, think about the arrangement, think about the parts, where is it going before I hit record. And when I think about it, that's also part of what this YouTube channel is about. I want to be able to look back 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and see how far I've come from today when I'm recording this video. I also want this channel to help build a community of like-minded people who love music and traveling and playing out in gear. A place where we can all come together and teach each other and learn from each other and inspire one another. That's really what this is all about for me. I just noticed that crazy flare on. So with all that being said, if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing down below. It really helps this channel out. Hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, let me know by leaving a like and a comment. Let me know what you think of the new addition to the studio. Also, if you want to directly support the channel, you can check out some of the links in the description box down below. There's links to my new Kemper profiles down there, as well as links to my No Plan B merch and some of the gear that I use to make these videos. If you want to get in touch with me, you can find me on Instagram at Rhett Shull, as well as a link to my website where you can shoot me an email directly if you have a question or comment. So yeah, I'm really excited about this tape machine and what I'm going to be able to do with it here on the channel. Hope you enjoyed the video. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. I'm Rhett Shull, and remember, there is no plan B.